Bismillah. What's up guys, and welcome again to a new video tutorial about programming fundamentals. In today's class we are going to talk about problem solving and algorithm. Whenever you are going to write a program, it is really important to organize your code and make sure that you have enough line of code in your program and not more than enough. So to be enough and exactly enough. To do that, you need to be precise about how the code will look like, and that is by using an algorithm. Of course, using an algorithm can be by different ways. You may do it by using a pseudocode or a flowchart. So what is a problem solving? Basically, when we are talking about problem solving, we are talking about a problem that we need to solve. Take the example of a calculator that we discussed last time. You need to make a program that calculates. How the program will look like so the calculator will work properly. So that is the problem, right? And we need to solve it. The problem solving is a process will help to transform the problem into a solution. The solution have to be clear, as we said earlier. And that is algorithm. I mean, algorithm is a written plan to solve the problem. The term algorithm derived from al-Khwarizmi, which is a name of a Muslim scholar who were specialized in mathematics, astronomy, and geography. Talking about computer algorithm, first of all, we know that a computer is a tool or a device that helps us to do some tasks, or let's say to solve some problem. The programs that we write to solve the problem are represented in steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, or let's say code line number 1, line 2, line 3, and so on and so forth. The programmer is going to translate the algorithm, which is a human readable, into a code, which is a machine readable. And finally, what the code or the program that the programmer is going to write shall be explicitly state the steps that lead to the solution. Step number 1, do this. Step number 2, do that. You know, seems like you are talking to a kid. Algorithm has some features or make it helpful. The first one is that it has a finite number of instructions. So, for example, you are going to calculate your GPA. So, okay, there is a set of instruction, or let's say limited number of instruction. Let's say 10 line, more or less, but it ends. Okay, it has limit. And number 2, algorithm is well defined. So, for example, you cannot have an algorithm to divide by 0. It's impossible. The process that is described by an algorithm will stop after arrive to the solution. So it shall not run forever or being infinite. And lastly, algorithms solve a general class problem. To write an algorithm, there are 4 steps to follow. Number 1 is to define the algorithm inputs. You know, a computer has input and output, and between them will be processing. So your algorithm also has its own input. If you are talking about your GPA, so the inputs are going to be your course's results or marks. And then you need to define the variables. And of course, the GPA is going to be also different in each semester. Number 3, you need to outline the algorithm operations. Is it addition, subtraction, multiplication, or what is it? Finally, you need to output the result. So, okay, you already have the number of your GPA. You have calculated the GPA, so you need to write it down, for example. Let's take an example of your GPA, how to calculate your GPA. So, first step is going to get the result for each subject, right? And that means we have a variable for each subject. Store the result, and second, you need to have to calculate the total for all subjects, as well as calculate the total credit hour. Later on, we divide the total result for the subject marks by the credit hours, and finally we need to show the result or write down the result. How to design algorithm? You may use one of 2 ways, either using a pseudocode or a flowchart. A pseudocode is a method to describe computer algorithm using natural language, so it is not coding. you may do it on paper, or also you can do it on a word processor on your PC. So you are writing how the code, how you are going to solve the problem. And yeah, it is the same example with the GPA. So yeah, here is what a pseudocode may look like. It is not a perfect one, but yeah. And the second way is a flowchart. And a flowchart is a diagram made of boxes, diamonds, and other shapes. All of these shapes will be connected by arrows. Diamond will be when you are having a decision, like, okay, I'm going to calculate. So if GPA higher than 50, pass. Lower than 50, fail. So we have two options, and that's where we use diamond, right? Let's take an example of a complete flowchart. So we begin with a start, and we use this shape for starting. And then we use this shape to define the variables. So here we have count and sum. Count, like to count number 1, number 2, number 3, and sum is the total. And then we go to input a number. So the user is going to input a number, okay? And after input the number, we are going to change the sum, the total, to equal the sum, which is 0, plus the number that entered by the user. Then if we still have much more numbers, much more subjects, so we go again, enter the mark again, and then increase the total, and then count by 1 and go again until we reach until the end of the subject mark. So the other option, which means if there is no more numbers, we will make the average equal sum divide count, or let's say the number of subjects, and then finally we are going to write the sum and the average, or let's say print or show to the screen. All right, guys, if you have any question, please write it down in the comment. I will answer you. That's all for today, class. Salam.